Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the final word. Armenia 2, Republic of Ireland 1. The morning after, the night before. I'm joined by Ste. He's back in studio.
Yep.
Ste, talk to me firstly about the lineup. I know we're miserable today, so we'll come to all that in a bit. But when you saw the lineup, I mean, it was Kelleher in goal, Jake O'Brien, Collins, O'Shea, and Manning in the back four, Cullen, Knight, Jack Taylor as the attacking midfielder in that one in the midfield, and then you'd Finn Azaz off the left, Benny off the right, and Evan Ferguson in the centre forward position. What were your thoughts when you initially saw that?
I mean, I was a little bit shocked to see Jack Taylor starting. Now, to be honest, I do prefer when Finn's kind of playing that number 10 position on his own, but we're kind of playing a bit of a diamond, and I don't know, I really want them to play Ida and Ferguson in this game. I said that before the Hungary game as well. I think Hungary is a team you go in and play one striker and a strong midfield, and then a team like Armenia have to go at them. I think that playing Ida and Ferguson, this type of game you do that. You've two on-form strikers for your country. Play both of them. I was very shocked to see Jack Taylor playing.
Well, I disagree on that. I agreed with what he said, because he came up pre-match just before the game saying that he wanted to pack the midfield because that's where Spurtian plays and he's like one of their best players. And I think when we saw, and we won't go too far into the second half because we will be talking about it, but I think you saw that in the second half that our two midfielders, Knight and Cullen, were just wide open for that sort of stuff. So I don't think it was the game to go with them, but I can understand the sentiment of why you wanted the two strikers, because you kind of thought that the two of them could have got at them, and obviously they both scored the other night. Yeah. So I get that, but I understood Hallgrímsson was trying to pack the midfield, and it did look good, because in the first 15 minutes we started well. You know, in the first 20 seconds we had a shot, which I can't remember the last time we done that. Not that that means anything or anything like that, but we were positive, we were on the foot, and we were trying to get at them early. Finn Azaz with a kind of like a tame enough effort, but it was a good effort at the same time. And then Evan Ferguson with great ball by Ryan Manning around the centre back of Armenia, and then Evan Ferguson reads it brilliantly. It's a little bit heavy because the keeper gets to it, but it's the idea of the pass was very good, and then the keeper came out to get it and he spilled it. Evan turns to shoot, and then their number 3, so he cleared it off the line. But it was a good effort. I mean, if it had went in, a lot of people would have said, like, lovely. And he looks like he's in really good form, and we'll speak about him as well. But I just felt as though as the game went on after that, we were just losing possession. No one seemed to be able to get their foot on the ball and just take ownership of the situation. It just seemed to be a constant thing throughout the game. Yeah,
no, 100%. And I think a big issue in this game, you touched on it there with the midfield. The press, after the first 20-30 minutes, the press was all over the place. You know, you had, when Ida came on, you had Ferguson and Ida pressing up high, but then Knight and Cullen would drop back, and there's a big, huge gap in between the front line and the midfield when we were pressing as a team. I just found it so strange. Everyone just looked so lethargic.
You mean Taylor, though, because this is the first half I'm talking about.
Yeah, sorry, in the first half, Taylor as well. I mean, I don't know, I feel like after the first maybe 20 minutes, that was a problem throughout the whole game. Our press was just completely strange. Front line would press, midfield would drop back. Massive gap in the middle. All Armenia had to do, one little threaded through ball into midfield, and they're in open space. I mean, I don't know what the game plan was there, but I don't know. It was such a strange performance in the first half.
Yeah, it was, and I think that showed again. Like, they had that effort where Darragh O'Shea slips. He's trying to jockey their centre forward. It slips, and then in fairness to Queevy and Kelleher, he done really well to narrow the angle and make himself big. He didn't really give him anywhere to go. He tries to cut it across, and Nathan Collins makes the block, and then they rattle the crossbar, and then at that point you're thinking, right, like, if ever there was a wake-up call, this is it. Like, we really need to get our heads together here, because everyone just looked off it. Like, the only person I would say in the first half who was winning their duels and didn't really put a foot wrong was Jake O'Brien. At right back, I thought he was solid defensively, but ultimately we also need him to get forward, but that's not his natural position. I'm sick saying to people is that he's not a right back. Like, he's just got thrown there last season by David Moyes, and he's done a very, very good job. And when he has to defend against some of the top level players in the Premier League, he's really good at that. But it's the other side is where we need something kind of going forward, and he's just probably been a victim of his versatility.
He's still learning as well at that position.
Absolutely, well, sure. He only went in, under David Moyes in January last year. But what I've been impressed with him is he is good on the ball, But that natural thing of, when you're trying to get it up to the winger and then you're bombing on to try and support him, that's not his natural game. So, but I was impressed with his defensive display. The rest of them, I can't really pick out anyone in the first half and go, they had a really good first half. Even Kelleher, he was quiet, so he didn't really have, the most brightest first half. But like Taylor, I was surprised that because I thought it was going to be like a flat 3. I didn't understand why he had him so high up, almost like as a second striker. Yeah. And then like we weren't putting in any tackles. I don't remember any tackles where people were like flying in or putting themselves about or whatever. From our point of view, obviously I remember at one stage Evan Ferguson got flattened by their centre back at one stage of the first half, and he couldn't believe he didn't even get a yellow card. I think they got a throw.
His head off the ground.
I think they got a throw in for so. The ref wasn't giving us anything, but like at international level, it tends to be the case for Ireland for some reason. I felt like that the other night against Hungary as well, but it was a Georgian ref, and he didn't really seem to give us anything. I thought their defender there was worthy of a yellow card, at least in that scenario. It was a bad challenge, especially on the replay. But I mean, then obviously they get the ball into the box, and Collins. Soft penalty in my opinion. It is a penalty, but it's soft. I mean, you'd be annoyed if it was given against you, but you'd be delighted if it was given for you. And I remember we beat Armenia a few years back with a VAR penalty. Robbie Brady scored it, but there was a lot of controversy about the handball that happened. They got back to 2-2, and then Robbie Brady scored that goal to finish it 3-2. It might have been in the Nations League, but basically they got a bit of karma back for that one with that penalty. Yeah. And then you're praying that Queevy and Kelleher can save it, but Spertsian's a very good player. I don't understand why more teams haven't gone in for him. He's at Krasnodar in Russia, and he's been very good for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I think someone should be really taking a punt on him. I think he's a really top level player, but obviously he scores just before half time. We must have been thinking disastrous going to set in here.
Honestly, watching the replay, I thought there's no way they're going to give this penalty. But I mean, like you said, the soft one, but you can see why it was given. I think Collins goes with the wrong foot. I think he should. I think he needs to go in with his left foot on that situation. And I don't know. It's a lapse of concentration from him. It's sloppy, and you're just putting yourself in a position for it to be a penalty. So frustrating. Kelleher obviously goes the right way, but like you said, the Armenian lad he slots it in the bottom left. So, oh man, no worse way to go into half time, was there?
No, and look, the Armenians love Spertsian. He's like their main man in that aspect. He is the one that they rely on in big moments. Something that we probably don't have, although we could probably argue Evan Ferguson is that man now.
Yeah.
But Spertsian, yeah, he's the player that in the opposition preview, all that sort of stuff that they were going on about him. And this was 5 years ago. Now they're going on about him, still saying like he's their main man. And he puts them 1-0 up. They go into half time. And what were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking we could change from what you saw in the first half? Because I thought we died a bit of a death towards the half an hour mark where you just looked so unfit. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. Going to half time, I mean, I didn't think Finn Azaz had a great first half football at all. He looked
probably
so
his worst
awful.
game for Ireland. And I'm a big fan of him. I think he's good, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we obviously know Finn's a technical player, so maybe it was the pitch. Maybe he was struggling to come to grips with the fact that he can't hold on to the ball and dribble a little bit and take his time. It was one of them games, like it was 1 touch, 2 touch. Like you see in Armenia showed that. Armenia are playing right through us. 1 touch, 2 touch football. So I think that's what players like Finn Azaz were struggling to come to terms with. So going to half time, I personally want to see McAteer and Adamida come on. We obviously seen them come on in the second half. So they were kind of the two.
Half time,
yeah. They were the two that I was looking at to come on, and I mean that's what we got. So and I was hoping maybe take off Finn and Jack Taylor. But going to half time, what do you think yourself? Did you want to see a change, or did you want to see maybe a change in tactic?
I literally called. I think it was. I was doing it on TikTok. I was doing a watch along, and I literally called for those Ida and McAteer to be brought on. Yeah. And literally the same players that went off as well. So it was Taylor. I can't remember who was the other one that came off. Taylor, no, Bene, was it? I think it was, yeah. So I was confident because they just weren't good. Look, I get it as well. Like, this is not a personal thing between any of them or anything like that. Sometimes in games you just have a bad game, and a lot of them had bad games. So To see McAteer coming on, I was thinking, all right, here's someone who might be able to get at them. It's a kind of like for Ogbenny, but I think it looks like Ogbenny was out of gas. And Jack Taylor, for me, I don't think that's a good position for him as that 10 and trying to get, trying to come onto balls and meet them and score. And I think he's better kind of being on the ball in control. And maybe, if you're putting someone in that position, it's Finn Azaz and Mikey Johnson off the left. That's what I would have gone with. I think that's what I went with in my starting 11, which wasn't far off what he chose in the end. But yeah, look, them two came on and I thought Ida looked lively in the first 15 minutes of coming on, but after that, it just fizzled out of the game.
Yeah.
And I think, look, they ripped us apart with that pass in between centre half and full back, and then crossed it across the box. And we were waiting for ages with VAR to see whether or not it was going to be a goal. But Armenia were 2-0 up at this stage, and everybody, because I was live at the time, so I know everyone was like, there goes our World Cup campaign, and definitely felt like it, They scored, VAR then inevitably was given. But then in fairness from them, we did try to get back into it. We showed a bit of fight and we got the goal. It was a really well taken goal by Evan Ferguson. I think the finish is actually underrated here. The way he hits it into the ground, he gives the keeper absolutely no chance of saving it.
First time as well.
Yeah, there was if he rolls that, maybe the keeper makes a save, but the way he bounces it into the ground, it makes it difficult for the keeper. I thought it was an excellent finish, and it shows why he's an elite striker. And I think he's only going to get better and better and better as the season goes on under Gasparini Roma. And hopefully he does for his own sake, but it won't matter for us now at this stage, unless he scores a hat-trick against Portugal next month. But let's be it was a really good goal. I don't think it was Jason Knight or Josh Cullen. I can't remember who was the one who stepped aside like a dummy. I don't think they even meant it.
No, either do I.
Yeah, and then he obviously Evan scored. So you think in game on, we're going to get back into it. But we just, every time Armenia went forward, they looked dangerous. And every time we went forward, we lost the ball within 2 passes. Every time, I felt.
No, I completely agree. Look, you touch on it there in the first half. When Armenia hit the crossbar, you think, great, this is a turning point. This is going to wake us up. The penalty, turning point, is going to wake us up. The subs at half time, Evan's goal. Every time something happened in the game, you think, great, this is where we're gonna click and we're going to get going. It just didn't happen. You touched on it there. First half, after about 20 minutes, lethargic, and that continued on to the second half. Subs came on. We seen a bit of a press out of Vida for about 10-15 minutes. Lethargic. It was just such a
he was good for the Ferguson goal because he drove at them. Yeah.
But yeah, that Evan goal, fantastic. I think Evan's the silver lining from this game. I thought in the first half he didn't get much. Maybe opportunities, maybe much of the ball, but whenever the ball went up to him, he really bullied that Armenia back line, and he showed his physicality and experience as well for such a young player. But his finish, fantastic. I completely agree with you there. But yeah, frustrating, such a frustrating performance, man. Coming into this game optimistic, feel good around the fan base and around the team. It seems obviously Hamer has kind of filled me with confidence. Then you go into this competitive game, man. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing is a lot of these players are captains at their clubs, but yet nobody took ownership on the pitch to say, right lads, come on, let's turn things around here. Like you would see a Robbie Keane or in previous Roy Keane, you would have seen this in previous Seamus Coleman, who would have been getting on the lads, being like, this is not good enough. Come on,
Robbie Brady,
raise your game. I think there maybe was a lack of experience probably in the squad last night.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why you keep someone like Seamus around. Obviously, John O'Shea has been and done it as a player with Ireland and with United. So I think his experience around the camp is invaluable. And not too long ago, he was a player. But when I think of the way I look at Collins, and I think he's a super player, more so at Brentford. But when I'm looking at him for Ireland, he always just looks exhausted.
Yeah.
Because he's it looks like there's a lot of pressure on him.
I was gonna say, it must just be the pressure getting to him, because I think some of the lads, I think Finn Azaz, another one last night, for the game, that the occasions seem to get to a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, when that happens, when you are dealing with them nerves and you are dealing with that pressure, that does make you obviously get a lot tired a lot faster. So, I mean, I think that's a good point that you make about Collins. I really do.
Yeah, but just I watch him and I'm just like, this isn't the same lad that we watch for Brent. And look, it's a different team, and he doesn't play every single week. As I said there, look, he's linked with Liverpool, he's linked with Man United in the summer. You're not a bad player if you get linked with those clubs. Let's be honest.
He's captain
and Spurs,
of a mid-table team in the Premier League, for a reason.
And I think that he is going to go up in levels at times. But I think this is just a very frustrating part of his journey. This will be with Ireland. That I think he'll always be kind of looked at as an early man if Ireland don't get this a tournament or something like that. I think he'll be looked at because he's the captain. I think it's a little bit unfair on him because I think he does try his best, but he just seems to be. Even O'Shea last night as well. He's not normally like that. And normally you'd have faith in the two of them, and you can kind of go, right, they're dependable enough, But I think maybe it might be time to change up that centre half partnership from next month onwards, and probably put Jake in centre back alongside Collins, and I think that might make things a bit. But it'd just be interesting to see what way that would line up. I think we did it against Bulgaria in the second game, and it was fine. So I'd be interested to see if that is the case, because the two of them just looked uneasy at times. Yeah. I feel, and again, it's nothing personal, because I think sometimes footballers can take things personal if you're saying something. It's not personal. I want them all to do well. I want all our players to do well. I want them all so we can be positive. But at times you can't be positive because the result isn't positive. Yeah. But yeah, look, they obviously at this stage, look, Armenia are ripping us to shreds every time we go, and then we just look like we can't defend. They're getting in behind. Every time we went in behind the defence, we just looked so nervy. They obviously got the third goal, but it was disallowed. But I mean, when they got the third goal, everyone thought it was, that was it. But mentally, I think we were done.
Yeah.
So I think Darren Maloney kept saying it on the commentary. He was like, "Oh, it doesn't even matter now because they have the damage is already done." I think even if Ireland had got a draw there, it still would have been the same feeling.
Yeah, I think so.
I think people would have just been like, "Oh, there's no, I don't feel any better about this." But the fact of the matter is, obviously, the goal was disallowed. But look, Queevy and Kelleher, if it wasn't for him, that could have been 5-1 to Armenia. Yeah. And that is staggering to hear that, isn't it?
It's mental. He really was. Like, he's probably our best performer, wasn't he?
Evan deserves credit for his goal, but Kelleher was the best performer, and that's 2 games in a row. Well, he was player of the match. I don't think he actually was. That Manning was quite good, but he's player of the match there. Probably player of the match last night. If you're going by the Sky, pick it out of a hat match winner.
Exactly, but yeah, he was fantastic. But just to touch on the partnership of Collins and O'Shea, I have to agree with you there, because it just, look, they're usually our spine, our backbone, them two, and then Cullen in front. And last night, for the Armenia game, that backbone just didn't exist. It broke. That's 9 of the last 10 competitive games under Hamer that we've conceded first. At a certain point, you have to change something defensively. Whether it's tactics, I don't know, but I don't know, man. You have to change something defensively. I think that's actually a really good show. Maybe taking out O'Shea and putting in Jake O'Brien. And then maybe you put Mark Doherty at right back. I'm not sure what you do at right back, but I think you have to try something different. I really do.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, and he probably would have done this, but he's put Darragh O'Shea at right back previously. I think we beat Finland and Darragh O'Shea is right back for that game. Fairly sure. I think we're crying out for someone of a young Matt Doherty. Yeah. I think Matt Doherty's checked out, to be honest, at this stage. He just doesn't look too interested in. He seems more interested in winding the fans up by putting up posts than he does actually, playing or whatever. And whatever, I know he's popular and all in the dressing room and stuff like that. I don't have any issue with him, really, to be honest. I actually thought he was doing quite well up until the Hungary game in terms of when he got dropped and got brought back in. I thought his performances were good under Hallgrímsson. I didn't think he'd done anything really that warranted any abuse, but then he came in against Hungary, probably out of position, but he just didn't look bothered at that stage, and he was very negative. And I think he was being told to be negative. He was told maybe not to cross the halfway line or whatever, because his passes were all recycled. But just overall in the grand scheme of things, to lose 2-1, our World Cup chances are out the window. And I think he's brought it on himself, the kind of coming out and saying that we're going to qualify, we're going to do this. You're putting pressure on the team straight away. Yeah. Instead of, I'm not telling them to play it down, but if you're going to come out and back yourself publicly and be so open and brash about it, and then saying things like that. Like Hungarian team are probably like, who's this fella? What's he saying this for? You know, be respectful, be humble, and, you know, take your chances or whatever in the match. But the way we were going on, I was not going to say he was arrogant, but he was a bit overconfident with our chances. And he's got egg on his face now. And he's basically said, like, my job's under scrutiny and I can't argue it.
Well, that's the problem. And look, at the time, I obviously did enjoy the confidence that he was putting out there. Obviously, it's hard not to, you know. But you talk all that big game. It comes to match day, you lose to 105th nation in the world. Like you said, egg on your face. Like, there's nothing else to say. It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
it really is.
And I think, as a person, he seems like a really nice, like, likable guy. I like how he's tried to go about things and whatever. And I understand he's trying to get the Irish kind of nation with a feel good factor or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think maybe someone like O'Shea should be reining them in, maybe in that instance, and go, just like, hold your horses. You shouldn't be maybe saying this, like, you're getting a bit maybe ahead of yourself in this scenario. And I think that's what's happened, because now, like, no exaggeration that we could have lost 5-1 last night. No exaggeration.
Yeah.
And it's been going around saying that we could be qualified for a World Cup or whatever. I understand he's not out there kicking the ball and he's not the one that's, you know, playing, but he is responsible for setting the team up. And I thought the team was set up wrong on both occasions. Matt Doherty should never have played left back the other night. And these are, like, basically what he's paid for. These are, you know, the big calls that he has to make. That's why he's paid the money he's paid. But ultimately now you have to say, whatever way he goes, whether it's this week or whether it's this month or whether it's this campaign or at the end of the campaign when his contract ends, he has to go.
The writing's on the wall.
Yeah. But a lot of people were saying as well, just on that, we'll come kind of to his tenure, but I mean, they're losing at 5-0 to England. Then, you know, you're looking at that one going, and then the Greece games. So you're kind of looking at it going, people were probably thinking, this is the... I saw people saying, like, the result came out of nowhere, but when you kind of look at things, you can kind of say, well, it didn't really. It's still the same crop of players.
Yeah.
You know, and we thought they were all going to kind of start to kind of come of age, but they've kind of had egg on their face, probably partly down to the manager and the way he was speaking. So what are your kind of overall thoughts on him and probably his reign, because either way he's going to be replaced at the end of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, like I said...
And that's not saying us there with the pitch forks out saying that you should be sacked. It's ultimately, it hasn't been good enough. Yeah,
100%. Look, I'll be honest. I mean, I came on this podcast and said it before. He filled me with confidence, and I liked what he's saying in the Bulgaria games. I know I was only friendly with the Senegal game, but the Senegal game as well, I thought I seen so many things that filled me with confidence coming into these games and playing a team like Armenia. But ultimately, like, when it comes to the competitive games, we just don't turn up. It's as simple as that. So I'm frustrated and I'm underwhelmed as well. I think that, I don't know, I think he was going the right direction the last 3 or 4 months, and then it came to the big occasion, and he, like you said, he made a poor call starting Doherty at left back against Hungary. I think he made a terrible call putting Jack Taylor as in that team as a 10. And Preston as part of a front two. I just think a little strange. Maybe he was trying to be too clever. I'm not sure. But overall, I have to say underwhelmed. I mean, you lose to 105th ranked in the world in biggest game in Irish national team history in years. Underwhelmed, man. Frustrated, annoyed, upset, everything. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think, well, like, we obviously got Portugal away now next month and win. It's just not gonna, like, I'd love to say I'd do something ridiculous if we win, but then I know we like end up probably doing it. So maybe someone in the comments can ask me to, I don't know, do a lap naked at the Aviva or something like that. But I don't see it happening, to be honest. And then I think Armenia at home.
Yeah.
I mean, after watching that last night, I think we'll be better against Armenia, but at the same time, you know, if we don't beat them there, and we're in danger of finishing bottom of the group now as well, which is the worst thing imaginable for us, unless we can turn things around greatly. Portugal narrowly beat Hungary as well away last night.
3-2. You
know, so, and people, look, we'll go on to it, right? If we're looking at managers, I just have to, before I go into the three that are kind of candidates mainly, but you have to look at Barnabas Varga for Hungary. And who's his coach? Ferencváros, Robbie Keane. And the difference, I was doing a podcast the other day with the Hungarian football podcast, and the Tom had said to me that the Robbie Keane has really improved him as a striker, and his goals, scored against us, scored 2 against Portugal last night. It's no surprise that he's gone up in levels. Robbie Keane's won leagues. he's one to consider, I would say. And then you go past Robbie Keane, because I'm only have to put on Robbie Keane out of my head there. You've got Damien Duff, Stephen Bradley, Roy Keane are other ones that you would like. The only one there that's not a Republic of Ireland legend is Stephen Bradley. Yeah. So of maybe the 4, I'd say, rather than the 3, there's cases for them all.
I completely agree.
So who would you make the best case for, and what would be your opinion be on the others?
Who would I make the best case for? I can't see Roy Keane taking it, I'll be honest. I can't. He just doesn't seem... I watched the overlap that he's on. He just doesn't seem really interested in going back into the managerial scene. Obviously, if Ireland come knocking, that's a whole different story.
They did before, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'd say Stephen Bradley has the best case. I think he's proven it time and time again with Shamrock Rovers. You see them in the European draw in pot 2. That says a lot. He's after getting that Shamrock Rovers League of Ireland team. People want to talk bad about the League of Ireland and the managers. He's after getting that Shamrock Rovers team into a genuine European side that are challenging big clubs. Just be Santa Clara. I think he's a fantastic manager. I think he deals really well with young players. He develops players into new positions. And I think his managerial style suits Ireland. I really do. It would break my heart. I'd probably shed a tear. Not probably. I'd definitely shed a tear the day that he leaves Rovers. But if it's to live to manage a national team, I think he's the man. Now, the first thing people will say is, Stephen Kenny before didn't go well as an Ireland manager. I mean, are we going to hold on to that forever? I think it's so silly. But the other candidates you mentioned, Keane, Duff, and obviously Roy Keane as well. I'll be happy with any of them, to be honest with you. But Bradley will be my pick. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I just hate the whole inexperienced shout. All inexperienced at this, inexperienced. Stephen Bradley's experienced in Europe. Yeah. 3 of the last 4 years, am I right in saying that?
Group stage?
Yeah. And he's won 5 of the last 6 leagues, I think.
4 of the last 5.
Sorry, but he'll win this year. And
exactly.
That's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that'll be 5 of 6 when he win. When Rovers inevitably win it this year,
yeah,
which they will.
The last 6, yeah.
I know you're a Rovers fan, you won't admit, but they're on course to win it, and they're coasting. Let's be honest, and they've the best squad because he developed that squad. Also, you look at a lot of the players that are in the squad. I know Mal, our good friend from the show, put up a photo the other day of a lot of Shamrock Rovers players that are now internationals. Liam Scales, Gavin Bazuna, Josh Honohan. There's one more I think there I might be missing. But there was about 4 or 5 of them.
I think so. I think it was 5. Yeah.
And so there wouldn't be an issue there. He would have developed a lot of them and brought them in. So there's him. There's Damien Duff, who coached at Celtic, coached at Ireland. He's coached underage level in the country. He understands from the grassroots up. He's won the league with Shelbourne most recently, but he did walk out on Shell. So that's the only black mark against him, is that he walked out. Mm-hmm. Other than that, he's experienced coaching at Celtic. He's experienced coaching at Shelbourne. I keep on referencing Craig Bellamy here at Wales, I really like the way he speaks as a Welsh coach. He's not afraid of anyone, and he likes to back them. I think Duff would be similar. But Craig Bellamy didn't have experience of managing a team previously. He's a coach at Anderlecht and he's coached at Burnley. Celtic is a bigger club than both of them. I don't care what anyone says, they are. They're a much bigger club. And he's had experience at League of Ireland, which isn't what everyone's saying. But to say that he's inexperienced doesn't make sense. Because he's played at the top level for Chelsea when Chelsea were in their pomp. He won leagues with them, done well in Europe, scored in Champions League semi-finals against Barcelona. Damien Duff was one of the best players this country's ever produced. So he would command respect straight away with that. Then obviously the fact that he's coached at Celtic. Then obviously the fact that he's won stuff in the League of Ireland as well. So I just don't understand this whole inexperienced thing when you look at Craig Bellamy getting the job. And Wales have done that a few times, bringing players or bringing managers through that didn't have experience. You know, Gary Speed, I'm sure, was one as well. God rest him. But I hate that inexperienced show. I just think that's nonsense. There is another element of the Roy Keane with Duff as his assistant. That could make sense. But I do think people forget about the way the O'Neill era ended so badly, so toxic. And Keane was one of the main factors of that. I love Roy Keane. I think he's brilliant on the overlap. I think he's so funny. I'd happily want him to stay on there, just be the brilliant, funny pundit that he is. I think he's really good on Sky. I don't think there's a need for him to come back. People will go, oh, but you need someone to give them a kick up the ass. Football doesn't work that way, and footballers are very precious these days. You can't say a word about them or they hate you.
Exactly.
Keane done that, but we know that firsthand. But, you know, if Keane was to go in there and say that, and then if Keane was to say anything, people would be going mad. And like, many times he's slaughtered the, you know, English players playing for Ireland, saying you're not even Irish. Like he said,
and then he's going to go into the dressing room with them same players. Yeah.
Exactly, as the main coach there, you know. Yeah. And I hear a lot of the stories of when he was Sunderland coach, when he'd keep them in 3 hours after the game and just go back over all the mistakes they made and just screaming at them and stuff like that. That's not what we need. He might have mellowed down now in recent times, but I think if you had him and Duff, maybe. I think Duff is the main man. I don't think Duff wants to be someone's side piece in this scenario now that he's been, you know, a manager and he's won things and he's a good manager. Like, I know people don't want to admit that because they don't like how brash he was and stuff like that, but Damien Duff was box office. They say Roy Keane is box office. I think Duff he wouldn't be afraid to call it out as well. But then there's an argument of Robbie Keane. I think the only black mark he has is that he coached in Israel, and a lot of fans won't get past that. So that's his black mark. So the only one probably there that doesn't have a black mark of the whole lot of them is Stephen Bradley. But then people will say the League of Ireland is his black mark.
Well, he's had issues with the FAI then as well, Stephen Bradley has. Yeah,
but he was interviewed for the job previously. He said he would take the job. If Rovers won a fifth league in November, the campaign ends in November, you then have a coach who has, in my opinion, delighted to see that Josh has got the all clear from council, but that was stopping Stephen from going to that next step as a manager. He's got the all clear now. If Rovers win that fifth league, I don't think there's anything more he needs to achieve, unless Rovers are going to go past Christmas in the European stages like they did last year. I don't see any reason for him to stay on there. I know you'll want him to as a Rovers fan, but from his legacy to elevate himself to go forward, I think there's an argument for him to be the Ireland manager, and something that he should really consider if it goes that far. I definitely think. I don't know what you think on that one, but that's my case for all of them. I think they all have a black mark, but I mean, who doesn't? Hamer had a black mark. He was a dentist. Everyone's black mark against him. You know what I mean? So
he was a dentist. Now look, it would break my heart as a Rovers fan, but I'd be selfish to say, oh yeah, I want Stephen Bradley to turn down the Ireland job if he gets offered it and stay here. Like you said, he's at this point, when we inevitably win this fifth of the last 6 league titles, what more has he got to do? Yeah, look, I don't know. I think that the stars are lining up here for Bradley. I think he deserves it as well. I think he's more than earned this. But I'll be honest with you, I'll be happy with Duff as well. I completely agree. I don't think Duff is an assistant anymore. I think Duff's the main man. I think if you bring Duff in, it has to be as head coach. I don't think he has an assistant personality anymore. You touched on it there, his career. I mean, people don't seem to fully understand this. The Shelbourne team that Duff won the league with should not have won the league.
Yeah, you're saying that respectably.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I know.
Completely respectably, because that shows that Duff is a developmental coach. He didn't just go and buy loads of players or take over a squad that was already strong.
He developed a few and sold them on. Gavin Malloy and Will Jarvis and all of these. He did bring them in and sell them on.
Exactly.
Jack Moylan.
Exactly. And I think having a coach like that is really important. And people will say what they want about Bradley and Rovers, money, all that crap. He's another coach that develops players. Josh Honahan brought him as a centre back from Cork. He's now one of the best wing backs in the Europa Conference League.
Scales Bazunu.
Man, I mean, Danny Grant, right winger on the bench for Bows, brings him in. He's a great right wing back, starting in European games. He's done it with so many players. So I really, really like the Duff and the Bradley show. I'd be happy with either one. Sad to see Bradley go, but I'd be delighted for him. If he goes, of course, yeah. But honestly, I don't really see any other options.
What would be your take on Robbie Keane?
I don't know, because I haven't really watched Fern. Go on, I'll let you say. Ferencváros. I haven't really watched them, so I'm not really sure on maybe his style of management or the style of play that his teams play. But look, he's an Irish legend. And any Irish legend that comes in would make me happy, to be honest. You touched on Craig Bellamy going into the Wales camp. So why can't we bring an Irish legend in? You know, and I mean, I think players like Evan Ferguson, Adam Ida, Troy Parrott when he's back fit, I think they develop really well under Robbie Keane. I mean, they would have looked up to him when they were growing up, you know.
But so, I also spoke with Varga for Hungary, how much he's developed under him.
Yeah,
you know, he scored against Hungary, he scored against us,
scored against
scored
against Portugal for Hungary,
for Hungary, and then you've got, you know, he's part of their, like, he wasn't doing well previously. He wasn't like the top dog that he is now since Robbie Keane's been coaching him. So
exactly.
That shows, and he's nearly 30 or whatever. So I think that shows what a coach he could be. And obviously the fact is they'd all respect Robbie Keane in the camp because of, you know, a record goal scorer. I know he's a very popular figure within the team when he was there under Mick as well. And then obviously he got kind of shepherded out when Kenny came in. So I know. Look, and I spoke to Harry Redknapp as well about Keane, and he was saying, like, I can't believe he's not a manager. And then he got the job in Maccabi Tel Aviv, and then he did whatever there. And I think that's gonna follow him everywhere he goes now, unfortunately, for him, because I think he could actually be a good manager for Ireland. But I think, is it one of those things where if he did get the job, could fans move away from the fact that he was managing there? If we win a couple of games, would they forget about that, or would that always be a black stain on his record no matter what he does? And that's just something that I suppose Keane and his representatives and the FAI would have to sort that out, because I don't know how, like, it's a touchy subject. It's a sensitive one, you know what I mean, because of obviously everything that's going on over there and all of that. But he obviously has gone out, he went out and got away from it, but in some people's eyes, that's probably too little, too late without getting into politics. Yeah, no,
100%. Look, it's like you said, a sensitive subject, so there's not much to really say on that. I mean, let's say this did come to fruition, and he, like, there was rumours of him becoming the Irish national team head coach. That would he'd maybe have to come with a public statement and an explanation. I don't know, but me personally, I think that the fans would never let that go. Then maybe you see a disconnect between the fans and the team, and it would just. I think you're taking a risk, aren't you? With Robbie Keane. So I think you look at the other candidates, to be honest. But if you looking at all them candidates, right? So you've kind of touched on it there and broke them down individually. If you had to pick one, who would you go for?
It's very difficult. I'm torn between Bradley and Duff, to be honest with you. I really am. My only thing with Duff is obviously he's fallen out with the FAI previously.
Yeah.
And I'd just be afraid that he'd walk away he's not afraid to walk away. Similar to Roy Keane in Saipan, he wouldn't be afraid to walk away if he felt like he was being disrespectful. And I understand he stands up for himself and all of that. I think the safest option, and, you know, money wise, would probably be Stephen Bradley. But I know what Stephen Bradley's achieved in League of Ireland football and what he's done and the stuff he's had to face with his child at the same time as managing a team and doing what he's done is unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a big fan of Stephen. Like, people know I'm a Shells fan, but ultimately at the end of the day, I'm unbiased in that aspect, where I'll say he's been an unbelievable manager. Didn't start out great for him, but he had a good team around him. He's gotten experience along the way. He's experienced in Europe. Tactically, he's very good. He knows how to set a team up quite well. So there is that aspect to it. But people are deluded if they think that they're going to get a top level manager like Mourinho or something like that. Mourinho wouldn't get a tune out of these players anyway. He'd fall out with them. But my point being is that the FAI do not have the finances to fund a manager of that sort of
caliber.
without someone coming in and backing it. Like Dennis O'Brien used to fund Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane. That's when we had like them involved, and they got us to a Euros, and that was the last tournament we were in, and we've not looked anywhere near like qualifying for them. Even though we all thought we were going to in this one, but yeah, I can't choose between the two. I want to, but I can't really.
You'd be happy with either one, basically.
Yeah. But I'd probably just edge it. Excuse me. I'd probably just edge it, Stephen Bradley.
For the longevity.
I just think it would make, if on both sides, it would actually make a lot of sense. He gets to spend more time with his family.
Yeah.
And it's not day to day. It's not every single, even though I still think he would work day to day because that's just the way he is. I think he'd have more time with his family. I think it would all, as you said earlier, the stars could align with that one. I think.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be unhappy if Duff got it as well. I mean, I love Damien Duff for what he's done for Shelburne. He brought back glory days. Shells are now in Europe, and a large part of that was because of him. Huge respect to Joey O'Brien. What he's done, came in and steadied the ship. But what Duff did from when Shells got promoted, they had no right. Cup final, European football the next season, win the league the third season, and the way and the manner and the talk and the euphoria around the league when he was involved in it, like, you can't take that away from it either. But I do think if you take off every hat that you have and you look at it kind of between the two, I wouldn't be unhappy. But I think they're the most realistic candidates financially that we could get.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I wouldn't be unhappy with either.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll leave it at that because we're kind of lost at this stage. We're out of the World Cup after 2 games. There's not a whole lot. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on anything we spoke about. We know we spoke a large part probably about the manager's situation there and that as well. So we'd love to know your thoughts. Let us know in the comments. Huge thanks to Steve as always. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.